Hello students, welcome to one more class of social studies. Today we are going to learn about a period of history very important and very revolutionary. Today we are going to learn about the Industrial Revolution. From 1500 to 1800 AD, traders increased, first in Europe and other part of the countries like America, Africa and Asia. It is a change from handicraft economy to industry and machine-made manufacturing. Now let us see how the trading increased. The Industrial Revolution is a stage of history that goes from 1750 to 1850 AD. Industrial Revolution was the transition of new manufacturing process in Europe and the United States in the period from 1750 to 1850. Traders began to use putting out system. That means in putting out system the owner would buy the material and give them out to various people to work on. Example, an agent would go around giving threads to women in a village so that they can spin. It was a time when manufacturing of goods moved from small shops and homes to large factories. This shift brought about changes in culture and people moved from rural areas to big cities in urban to work. Beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Around 1750, the invention of steam, spinning jenny, water frame, power loom and cotton gin increasingly used to produce goods, to move goods and people from one place to another. Today we use many machines and machine-made goods in our daily life. This was the beginning of the machine age in Britain. The power loom produced more cloth at a lower price, resulted people or the traders to earn more money. James Watt, a Scottish, invented Watt steam engine, which converted steam back to water, developing a rotary engine which mechanized weaving, spinning and transport. This is the picture of steam engine invented by James Watt. Factory system. Factory system is a method of manufacturing using machines. Because of the high cost of machines and factories, they were owned by the wealthy individual who employed laborers. Hundreds of workers brought to work in large factory. They produce large goods in a large scale. In this picture we can see the factories which is produced many goods in less time. The experience of a 19th century children work. The factory system was a new way of making products that began during the Industrial Revolution. The factory system used powered machines, unskilled workers like children and women, because they work for low pay compared to men. Often The working conditions were poor and dangerous. Eventually, laws were passed to outlaw child labor. In this picture, we can see that the factory owner has hired children and women to work in a low wages. Let's see the inside picture of factories. Inside early factories, machine could be worked on by even unskilled persons. Thus, skilled artisans were not needed. In their place, a large number of women and children were employed for meager or in less wages. Most of the small craftsmen workers had to close their shops. Sources of energy and industrial development. In this picture, you can see different types of sources of energy that are used to run the industries. We know that energy is needed to run machines in a factory. Slowly, from the energy of coal and steam, started using several other sources of energy like petroleum, thermal and hydroelectricity, natural gas, nuclear energy, and solar energy. Transport revolution. The next big thing in the context of transport was adaptation of steam engine to locomotives. George Stephenson pulled heavy loads along 64 kilometers at the speed of 46 kilometers per hour. In this picture, we can see that George Stephenson, who invented locomotive in 1800. In 1840, John Loudon McAdam devised a method of laying the road using broken stones. You can see in the picture at the right side, people are laying the broken stones on the way. This created hard surface which was an important construction of roads, which we see in our area as tar road. Steam engines were not only used for locomotives or other vehicles or factories but also boosted the shipping industry. The invention of steam engine boosted the shipping industry. It also reduced the cost of transportation. Trade in industrial products. Industrial production increased fast. Subsequently, the traders purchased the furnished products and sold them in countries like India, America, etc. Other countries like France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, Holland, etc., which consider themselves as mother countries. You can see in these pictures all these countries were known as mother countries. Urbanization and slums. Industrial revolution led to gradual shift of people from villages to towns. Industries gave livelihood to many people. People moved to towns and cities. Houses and shelters were cramped and had little sanitation or other facilities. Slums became common scenario in town and cities near the factories and mines. Now let us travel back to 18th century and view the Industrial Revolution and its progress in invention and trade.
In the late 1700s, most people worked in the fields on land they did not own. Those who owned the land, called aristocrats, lived refined lives in elegant manor houses. Servants raised their children and did their housework. The landowners and the people who worked for them depended upon each other. It was a system that had existed for centuries. In towns across England and the United States, a series of extraordinary innovations would alter the way people lived and worked for the next 150 years. Inventors had found new ways to harness nature's energy. They built new kinds of machines powered by water, steam, and coal. The new machines replaced hand-powered tools. They did the same work, only cheaper and faster. Much of the work was done outside the home, in specially designed buildings, the first factories. Mechanization began in the textile mills of England, where one machine attached to a spinning wheel could do the work of 50 people. Fuel, clothing, and food all became more affordable. With the development of locomotives and steamboats, manufactured goods could now be sold halfway around the world. Families moved from the villages of their ancestors to new industrial towns. And a new class of people emerged, workers who produced goods. Industrialists, the people who owned the factories, employed hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. And they made enormous profits in their industrial centers. But while the Industrial Revolution brought wealth to some and jobs for others, it came with a price tag. Pollution from coal-powered factories turned the cities black. Lack of housing created the first urban slums. And the demand for more and more goods and higher profits brought the exploitation of workers, including children. Some of the worst conditions were seen in the textile mills of New England. In the 1830s, a 10-year-old mill girl described her life.
We were paid $2 a week, and the working hours of all the girls extended from 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 in the evening, with 1.5 hour for breakfast and for dinner.
It was the hiring of children, some as young as 5 years old, throughout the 1800s and early 1900s, that outraged the public. Workers and reformers protested. They formed unions and associations and fought for government regulations to limit the workday and protect children. These laws helped address many of the abuses brought on by the Industrial Revolution. Today, we are in the middle of another revolution, a technological revolution. We live in what's called the global village, because we can connect with people around the world as if they lived next door. And we can now work anytime and anywhere. We will have to wait and see where this new revolution leads.
Children, hope you have enjoyed and learned about the Industrial Revolution. Now, please take a small homework and locate these following countries in the world map. Thank you and have a nice time.